So my name is John Samuel. I work for Erlang Solutions. I've been working for the company for about 7 years or so, and I've been involved in the RabbitMQ space for about six years or so. I run the engineering team at Erlang Solutions. Uh, and I've been involved with computing in some shape or form for the last since the mid 90s or so. So it's been quite a journey. It's continually changing and continually interesting. So that's me. Um,
John, can I ask you what your first computer was that you
ah,
worked on?
my first computer was BBC Micro
Uh-huh.
back in the 80s. That's probably my first computer program I wrote was on a Commodore 64. That's what really got me into computing. So, and that was on the computer music side. So, with my teenage friends, we used to write uh, computer music. The Commodore 64 had a little SID chip in there, and we used to write blippy music for computer games. And one game was The Last Ninja 3 was our claim to fame. Was we contributed some of the sound effects and music to that as teenagers, which was what really got me into computing.
Very cool.
Good stuff. Mark, do you want to introduce yourself?
If I
Yeah,
can,
okay.
if I can just
Sorry.
interrupt you, Mark, sorry. I think it would be nice if we could all see your faces on the big screen. So if John, if you could stop sharing the slide, that'll be
Oh,
perfect.
okay. Let me stop sharing the slide.
Great, thank you.
Thank
I
you
don't
very
think you
much.
went through the slide actually, John, and said what we're going to do this evening, did you?
No, I didn't actually. So, so part of the group's the slide today is really to go through the group, introduce ourselves. We'll spend about half an hour going through each one of us what we've been doing, and then the the next part will be a presentation by Bruno on Rabbit, and then we'll have an opportunity to mingle and chat through some of our experiences. So that's this session.
Okay. Well, I'll introduce myself. I'm Mark Cowan. I work in the sales group at Erlang Solutions. I've been in Erlang Solutions for 2.5 years, but I have a lifetime of selling in computers. But I'm a scientist that's actually gone bad. I started off as a biologist. I always thought I was going to try and find a cure for cancer. Then discovered there was more money in software, and then I discovered there was more money in software sales, and so I ended up where I am now. My first introduction to computing was with something that it was well, obviously the AS400s. We all worked on the IBM AS400s mainframes, but it goes back to a pocket calculator called the Cambridge Sinclair Cambridge, if anyone remembers that. And that was before PCs. And then Sinclair brought out the Spectrum series, and that was my first introduction to computing. You had a cassette tape, if anyone remembers what cassette tapes were. You had to load the program into memory, and then you could do very simple things like play a few tunes and a couple of simple games like Pac-Man. But that was really it. That was how I got into computing, and never looked back since.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mark, for that. So let's start with Johan. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. Johan, I was once upon a time the organizer for the first RabbitMQ Summit. Yeah, I've been working pretty much all day, every day with RabbitMQ one way or another since 2016. Before that, I was doing modeling and simulation as as my work. Before that, I was a student back in socialistic Sweden, but now I live in land of the free in the United States. I do mostly help our customers, 84 Codes, Cloud MQP, with running RabbitMQ one way or another.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about 84 Codes and the Cloud MQ experience. What's some of the things that you've been up to?
It was started by Carl, which is actually my friend from military service in Sweden. It was started 2012. And at the time, at the start, the only way to get it was as an add-on on Heroku. That was the only way. And since then, it's been expanded to be on all the major clouds and customers from all over the world. Basically make it as easy as possible to get a RabbitMQ cluster running, both with free plans and with more dedicated, larger plans. And customers are everything from your a teenager trying it out for the first time with a free plan to really big companies that rely on it for some of the things that they consider mission critical.
Fantastic. And when you're not working, how do you what are your sort of pastimes, and how do you relax?
Yeah, it's been hard with the pandemic. So it used to be that I was doing martial arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as my way to relax. And that's kind of the worst type of sport for a global pandemic that is spreading, maybe through contact, maybe through breathing. And when you're very close, that's not the optimal. So I started birding with my wife and my toddler. So we bought a very nice camera, a very nice lens, and started looking at birds.
Oh, that sounds quite exotic. And what's been your in the UK we call those twitches, bird watchers. So
okay,
what's your what's the most unique bird you've managed to spot?
Oh, I mean the most unique bird is probably some odd warbler that it's tiny and it's very colorful and so on, and it just migrates through. But that's more fun to me is seeing especially the birds I like are herons or egrets, because they are kind of one of the few animals that use technology, you could say. They can use their wings to shadow a place and then go in for the kill, or they can kind of drop a stone somewhere to see where the fish is swimming and then go in for the kill. So it's that's kind of my favorite bird to see.
Fantastic. And for the RabbitMQ Summit, what are you looking forward to hearing at the summit next week?
I think the same as most people, to hear about the new streams functionality that is coming. I think that's that's the leading feature, but maybe more to see what users are doing right now with RabbitMQ is always interesting. Like we've had at previous RabbitMQ summits, we've always had nice user stories from very different, ways of working, ways of life, from things from Goldman Sachs and the finance people, all the way out to one of our customers is FarmBot. So they're doing a robot that helps you grow a garden. So their business is booming now with the pandemic, and everybody wants to grow a garden. So it's just the breadth of different use cases. Probably what I'm looking forward to most.
Thank you very much for that. Mark, do you want to ask the... Can't hear you, Mark.
So, Johan, I was going to ask, whereabouts in the States are you? I think you said you're in America.
Yeah, I'm right in the center in St. Louis.
Oh, Missouri. Is that Missouri?
It is. It's right on the Mississippi River. So if I just go a little bit east, I'm in Illinois, but it's technically in Missouri.
That's a nice part of the world. You've got is that where the big arch is? Is that where in St. Louis?
Yeah, that's what it's most famous for in the US. Yeah.
Excellent. So, John, I sort of I don't have any more
Okay.
questions there.
Okay, so let's move on. So, Michael, now I don't know how to pronounce your surname. Is it Kurachik?
That was actually pretty good. Yeah, I'm Michał Kuracik. I'm on the RabbitMQ team. I've been involved in developing RabbitMQ for 3.5 years now. Until this year, I was a product manager / engineer on the Kubernetes operator for RabbitMQ. This year, I'm trying to focus more on RabbitMQ itself. Doing all kinds of stuff related to mostly to like bug fixes and performance improvements here and there, with some monitoring, observability work, and also some new ideas that we have. I was also involved in some of the streams development. So yeah, a bit of everything, I guess. What else? Well, my first computer was an Atari 130XE, which I did some basic programming on. Yeah, but what really got me into computers is when I saw Windows for the first time after running DOS for a few years. I said, there's no way that I'm using that, and there must be something else. Like, if that's the future of DOS, then I need a different future. And I found Linux, and yeah, 1997 was the year of Linux on the desktop for me. So yeah, that's how I started.
Gosh, what was your first distribution in Linux then?
Slackware.
Slackware, excellent. Absolutely, they're good old days when you had to pull your mods together. Fantastic. And I see that you have some hobbies. Ultra marathon I saw somewhere.
Just occasionally. Yeah, I used to be a swimmer as a teenager. I was like a country level national championships level swimmer, and then I played a lot of basketball. These days I mostly run and hike. Nothing professional really, but trying to stay fit.
And where do you hike? What part of the world do you get to hike?
So I live in Poland, so most commonly I will also hike in the Polish mountains, but yeah, hoping to go to the Alps, Italian Alps, in a few weeks, for example.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Michał. Sophie.
Hello.
How are you?
I am very well. How are you?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. So you're going to be actually doing the keynote next week.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
So tell me a little bit about your background and how you got into computing.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm a senior engineer at GitHub. I've been there for about, I guess, a little over 1.5 years, which is kind of wild, especially because most of that time has been, during the pandemic, which makes time seem like it moves at a very different pace. I have been working as an engineer for the past, I guess, 6 years. So kind of a short period of time compared to some of the other folks on this call, which is why I'm really so excited to be part of RabbitMQ Summit this year. There's just like so much experience and so much knowledge to learn from everyone here. And how did I get into the world of computing? I'm, I guess, what you would call a career change engineer. I don't have a computer science degree, didn't study it in school or anything like that. For most of my life, I sort of viewed my computer as just like a magic box for watching movies on, which I have since come to learn is not the case. I did a boot camp, a programming boot camp called the Flatiron School about 6 years ago at this point, and just absolutely fell in love with it. You know, like writing code with the computer bounced on my chest at night, falling asleep over my homework because I just couldn't get enough of untangling these kinds of problems. And when I finished that program, I actually went on to teach there at the Flatiron School, left for a little while to work elsewhere, came back to that same company and worked on their engineering team, which is where I got kind of a trial by fire working with RabbitMQ. At the time, we were using it as, and this is very much going to be a part of the talk next week, as just like a very, very powerful background job processor. And we had a self-managed, self-hosted version of RabbitMQ before we moved on to cloud AMQP. And what we learned from that is that it's not worth it to manage it yourself, at least many times, in many cases. We have, I wouldn't quite say horror stories, but some interesting experiences that we'll share during the talk next week. But it was great because it really put us in a position where when we were ready to move away from our monolith and start introducing new services into our architecture, and we wanted to move towards event-driven design and asynchronous messaging, we already had a message bus that we were kind of expert at working with, and it was Rabbit. And that really became the backbone for a very solid event-driven system that we architected and implemented over the course of a couple months there. So I'm really excited to share that with everybody next week.
Fantastic. And in terms of how you relax and how do you get away from the professional space? What are you?
I would like to learn how to get away from the professional space. I would say that a lot of my hobbies are still centered a bit on programming. So I've got a book out from Pragmatic Bookshelf in beta, Programming Phoenix Live View, co-authored with the fantastic Bruce Tate. So that's something that we've been hard at work on for a couple months. And I do some mentoring in the Elixir space. I really do enjoy writing my technical blog. So kind of hobbies, kind of not. But aside from that, especially ever since my partner and I moved up to the Hudson Valley from the city about a year ago, just really have been loving getting out into nature with my dog, who I promise does have some energy when he gets out into the world, but otherwise he can be found exactly there and not moving. I'm sure that's exactly what he'll be doing during the talk next week. But we did go on a picnic earlier today, which he quite enjoyed. So.
Fantastic, Sophie. And what are you looking forward to in terms of talks? Is there anything particularly that you're interested in finding out next week?
Yeah, definitely. So it's just going to be really hard to choose which one I'm the most looking forward to. This is my first RabbitMQ Summit, so I'm just thrilled to be here at all. But I'm in particular looking forward to the talk. Apologies that I forget who's giving this talk, but I think it's called RabbitMQ Has a Problem, or We Have a Problem, or something like that. Having just gone through my own ups and downs with debugging Rabbit, I am really excited to kind of peer under the hood and figure out how the professionals do it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sophie. Mark,
Thank
do you have
you.
any questions for Sophie at all?
Well, I was just curious about something you said in your biography that you help your teams to push through the lost in space feeling. What is the lost in space feeling?
Yeah, so this is something that I really encountered a lot as a teacher when I was working at Flatiron School Programming Bootcamp. I think students, and myself included, tend to struggle the most if you really hold on to this belief that you shouldn't feel confused. And I see this a lot in my students. They sort of think like, oh, one day I'll be done learning, I'll be a fully formed engineer, maybe one day if I work hard enough, I'll be, where you are and I won't struggle anymore. But what I try to give my students is not just a tolerance for that feeling of discomfort, but actually a love of it. I want my students to seek out that feeling of being lost in space, of like not really knowing quite where they are or how something works or what's going on, because that desire, I think, is always what pushes you to the next level. And it's something that I don't think ever goes away. It hasn't gone away for me in the 6 years that I've been doing this. It just kind of rears its head in different ways. So I think that that's a really beautiful place to be, that place of discomfort, because I think that that's where you discover really beautiful things.
I think I'm still in that space. So yeah, all these
Absolutely.
years later.
Yep.
Great
Thank
stuff.
you.
Thank you very much for that. Let's move on. Dave Lucia, is that pronounced correct?
Dave Lucia is the name.
Lucia. My apologies.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, nice to meet you. Nice to meet everyone. Let's see. I currently work at a company called SimpleBet, and we are trying to make it so that you could bet on anything that's happening in a sporting event while it's happening. So if you're watching a baseball game and the pitcher is about to throw a pitch, betting if it's going to be a ball, a strike, or in play is what we're focused on. So I've been in the Elixir world for the last many years and really love it. Share a lot of circles with Sophie and others. And so I'm just very excited about being here to talk about RabbitMQ. And that's a newer love that I've been very excited about as well.
So those who might not be familiar with Elixir, that's a relatively new language. What's special about Elixir?
So what's special about Elixir? Well, first of all, Elixir and RabbitMQ have a lot in common. So RabbitMQ is built in Erlang, and Erlang is a functional, concurrent, fault-tolerant programming language built in the 80s, open sourced in the 90s, and used to implement RabbitMQ in the late 2000s. So Erlang and Elixir are powered by the same VM, and some might say that Elixir is just a syntactic wrapper over Erlang, which would be wrong, but not that wrong. So what Elixir is really good at, it adds a friendlier syntax to the Beam VM than Erlang if you come from, let's say, Ruby or Python or something like that. It has really good tooling, and it's just a really pleasant and powerful language to work in where you can be very productive and get a lot of time. So hopefully that's a good explanation.
Fantastic. And Dave, tell me a little bit about your computing experience. How did you first enter?
Let's see. So I became fascinated with computers as a teenager. I think my first programming was really the game StarCraft. See, they had a visual GUI where you could program and make different custom maps and levels to play with your friends. And so I started making my own in their visual programming language, and then started taking programming classes in high school. We had like AP Computer Science and Visual Basic intro classes. So I was very lucky that my public high school had those types of classes. And then I went down the traditional route of getting a computer science degree at SUNY Binghamton in upstate New York.
Fantastic. And you work for SimpleBet, so I have to ask you, what are the odds for the England-Denmark game?
Oh man, I'm not qualified for that one. That's see, we push those problems to our machine learning engineers, and I hear that Google is already automating. Sorry, not Google. GitHub is automating them. So you can ask Sophie about that.
Fantastic.
I think they've got a product that can do that.
Dave, can I ask a question? What sports do you watch for pleasure? Do you have a passion?
Man, that's the hard question. I'm not a sports person. I like to cycle. I played sports in high school. I played football in high school, but was never much of a fan. Preferred to be in the action rather than watch the action. So
That's a fair comment.
So gun to my head, I'm a Jets fan and a Mets fan, but I don't like to admit that to too many people.
Is that baseball?
Yeah, baseball and American football.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Sorry, I have to excuse our ignorance. We're perhaps over in the UK, we're not quite familiar with some of those names.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dave. Moving on. Annie.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Annie. It's easy for me to talk after Johan because he's my boss. So we're doing similar stuff. So I work at CloudMQP and 84 Codes, and I've been with them for 2.5 years. So I'm one of the new faces in this community, but it's great to be in this community and see all of you here because I've been seeing your names on GitHub and Google groups and such. So it's really nice to get to talk to you almost in person.
Fantastic. So tell me a little bit about sort of your journey into computing. How did you get into to where you are? What's your story?
Yes, I used to work as an IT consultant for about 7 years before I joined CloudMQP. So I've never heard about RabbitMQ before that, but now I love it and I love to work with it. So I don't have a long journey in computing like you guys talk about all computers. I don't have that, but but I like it here.
And in terms of where are you based in the world?
Yeah, so right now I'm in socialistic Sweden, and that's where I'm from. But I live in New Zealand normally.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And let's move on. So we have Zach.
Hello.
Hi, Zach.
Hey.
You're going to be giving a talk next week. What?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how you come to work with RabbitMQ.
Sure. I'm gonna talk a little about my background as well, because I am like Sophie, a bootcamp person, but I did an online bootcamp, so I never met my classmates, except we definitely chatted online a lot. But I started out as a philosophy major in college. I was doing acceptance testing right out of college at a healthcare company, and I decided to dig under the hood. And my first programming language was called Cache. It's kind of similar to 4chan. And I was using that to aid my acceptance testing. And I was like, this is pretty cool. I want to do more, but not in a 4chan environment. So then I did the bootcamp. So once I learned programming, I loved it. I became a test engineer because it combines my interest in programming and also quality. And I've been doing that for the last 5 or 6 years. I live in Chicago. I'm involved in the Selenium community in Chicago. I run the Selenium Meetup group. And I greatly take pride in having fast end-to-end test suites and meaningful failures. And part of the getting those meaningful failures is knowing about RabbitMQ. And RabbitMQ is often in the background. It's kind of the workhorse, the stable giant. Chipping away at its insurmountable list of things to do. But so my talk's going to be about using RabbitMQ admin, in your test environment, getting more information about failures and just getting a window into that world, since it's doing a lot of that work for you.
Good stuff. Mark, do you have any questions for Zach?
Well, Zach, I was looking at your biography. You said you love cooking. So what's your specialty dish? What do you love to cook?
I love Vietnamese food. Did like a month trip in Vietnam after college, and I cook a lot of fish and crepes when I'm trying to impress people, mostly. So that's the most fun thing to cook.
Yeah, it's, there's some good Vietnamese restaurants in San Francisco from my memory. So in Chicago, are you near the lakes?
Yeah, I actually live 3 blocks from a lake. I will often go on the bike path that's right by there to get some exercise, or if I go out and play tennis, I'll jump in the lake afterwards. It's pretty fun.
And is it true they dye the river green on St. Patrick's Day?
It is true, and it is a secret that other cities have tried to pry out of Chicago, and it's unsuccessful because it's, a proprietary secret. The same family's been doing it for the last like 80 years.
So no one knows how they do it.
Yeah, exactly. Because it involves, it's natural. It's a natural dyeing process. And they've got some way to do it that's also good for the river and looks radioactive.
Never knew that. Hey, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So moving on, we have Gerard Lazou. Did I pronounce that right?
Second part, yes. The first part, it's Gerhard.
Gerhard.
It's a German name.
Aha.
Yes.
Okay. So tell us a little bit. You're going to be doing a talk next week on what's the problem? Is that right? Rabbit has a problem.
Has a problem. It's the one that Sophie mentioned. It has so many meanings, but in the context of the talk, it's when RabbitMQ has a problem, genuine problem. Sometimes it can be fixed, sometimes it can't, but at least you know that it has a problem, rather than discovering, oh no, it doesn't work. What do I do? So I have been with the RabbitMQ team for some time now. I was very fond of the first RabbitMQ Summit. I missed the second one, which never happened. This is the third one. I think that's like a secret. The second RabbitMQ Summit never happened. And my focus these days is shipping RabbitMQ 3.9, making it the best release it can be. I was in a similar boat with 3.8, but this year it's special because 2020 was a crazy year and streams are a big deal. And there's so many things linked to that. So you see it as a feature, we see it as a building block.
Fantastic. And just on that, you see RabbitMQ on a sort of increasing diverse set of platforms. What are the sort of challenges that sort of come with that? Particularly from the operations and getting that product out there.
So I'm glad that you've asked that, because in January, we had, for 3 weeks, we were helping a customer figure out why their RabbitMQ doesn't behave in a certain way in a certain scenario. Michal was there as well, so he does debugging as well, and he's really good at that. And a few others did the same thing. It turns out it was Red Hat Enterprise 6, which just went out of support, and combined a new Erlang version. It was just Erlang and Red Hat Enterprise not working well together. And it was a really nasty one to debug because it was actually the IO. It was the IO implementation of how Red Hat Enterprise interacts with the storage layer. And Erlang was just making everything so much worse. So it's that types of problems that if you don't know the stack or you don't understand the stack, they can take many weeks to debug. And you may not even get to the bottom of it unless you have the right people in the room for many weeks, as we did. So that was a tough one. And I think those issues will become increasingly more important as we ARM. The rise of ARM is important. AMD, you may think that AMD CPUs are great, and they are, except where single core performance matters. And for RabbitMQ it does. So get the latest AMD EPYC, and then your RabbitMQ performance may degrade simply because you've changed the CPU. It's stuff like that which is really interesting to me. Can you tell that I'm into infrastructure? I like infrastructure. I even do it in my free time for fun.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Gerhard. Mark, do you want to ask a question?
I was just going to ask you, I saw you do a lot of driving, or you drive for pleasure, Gerhard. I mean, where do you drive?
That is an excellent question. I'm very limited these days. My favorite place is somewhere between France and Switzerland. So that's where you get on when you just get off the autoroute and you start, I think it's the N5 or N95. And then you go through the mountains into Switzerland. That's a very nice area to drive. The Swiss autoroutes, the French autoroutes are also great. I really enjoy them. But I think Switzerland is my favorite place. Now, that has been a problem. So in the UK, M1, it's not great, but that's what we have. The Cotswolds can be sometimes fun. And yeah, that's about it, really.
I know the Cotswolds well. I mean, have you ever driven the Amalfi Coast?
No, I haven't.
In Italy. That's a fabulous drive. If you do that in the summertime, But do it early in the morning before all the tourists get up and all the buses and tourist buses get on the road. That's a great ride. As is the ride down from San Francisco down to Los Angeles down the coast there. That's also another fabulous drive if you ever get the chance.
Those are great tips. Thank you, Mark.
You also said that you're a coffee expert. How do you make your coffee?
Okay. I'm not sure I use those exact words, but yes, I do enjoy.
Well, no, you didn't,
coffee.
but
right. So I got an ECM Synchronica, which is a really good machine, and an ECM grinder as well. And those make the biggest difference. I go for a cortado, which is a double shot espresso with a little bit of milk, and it's the microfoam. It's the way the Australian baristas are well known for making it. 18 grams, 18, 19 grams of ground coffee, always fresh. It has to be bought at a certain date from a certain place and used by a certain date, very important. And yeah, everything has to be timed perfectly, which I do.
And one other question, do you use milk or do you use condensed milk?
Always full fat, fresh milk.
I've just seen the different recipes out there on the internet. I just ask. Thank you.
Always full fat, fresh milk. Yeah, it's
Great.
better than like, it made such a big difference being stuck at home. It made such a big difference to have a good, proper coffee as you would get it from any proper London coffee shop. So it was a godsend, really.
Great, thank you.
Is it true that water temperature is the most important factor in a good coffee?
The water plays a very important role, the pH of the water. So that's the reason why we buy a specific bottled water. The water temperature, yes, is also important, but if you have bad water, like from the tap in the UK, it's a very hard water. It doesn't matter the temperature, you'll get a bad coffee. So yes.
So what's the pH have to be? Because I thought the pH of water was always around 7.
Let me see, what does it say here? I can't remember it off the top of my head. 6.7.
6.7, okay.
And it's like a bunch of other things. It's specifically the Lock Hills one. It's the Lock Hills mineral water. It's a still one, it's not a sparkling one, but that's the one that you want. I tried all of them, and like basically it's the water that you buy from the shops, because the one that you get from the tap, maybe in Scotland, maybe, but I don't know because I don't live there.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
So moving on, we have Michael Cleashan. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, doing well. So,
tell me a little bit about your background. You've had a long history with RabbitMQ. Tell us a little bit about how you first got into computing and a bit of your background story.
Right. Well, if you have been on the RabbitMQ mailing list in the last 2 years, you know that I've been a contributor since about the dinosaur age or something like that for over a decade. And this is what I've been doing at VMware for more than 8 years. Even till then, VMware. Yeah, so at some point, I like exotic programming languages, or relatively exotic programming languages. And at some point in the mid-2000s, I realized that, most people don't. And the only way to build something in, say, I think Scala in 2008, 8, was to find a way to integrate your service with what today would be called a monolith, right? So I figured a lot of things about microservices before this was necessarily a well-known term. And RabbitMQ was, let's say, maybe the most mature open source game in town. And so I started contributing first to client libraries, then asking questions in the mailing list. And at some point, the founders thought, this fellow asks so many questions. How about we just hire him and let him figure it all out? So yeah, that's the story with my involvement in RabbitMQ.
So I'm just one question, because we're a little bit short on time. But if you had to express yourself in only one computing language, what language would you choose to express yourself in, and why?
to be honest, I don't really know. I would probably say Rust because it represents a lot of things that I value about programming languages these days, and it is fairly flexible, and you can program it in many different ways. I would say Clojure JavaScript actually. Before I had at least some experience with Rust, they're also very flexible. But come on, who would like to represent themselves as JavaScript? It's a bit crazy. So yeah, I would go with Rust.
Good stuff. Thank you. Gabor, tell us a little bit about your experience and how you first got into RabbitMQ and your bit of your computing experience. How did you get
Yes,
into
you should
it?
know a lot about how I got into Rabbit because as my day job, I work with you, and
Yes.
hopefully that I'm relatively newcomer to Rabbit. I've been working with Rabbit for 3 years now. Previously, I worked on Erlang systems, and I worked on that infamous Erlang system with 7 nines or 9 nines, 11 nines. I've heard different stories that trending on the internet about Erlang. It never had that many nines, by the way. We were really happy if we reached 5s, but hacking the metrics is not new. I learned a lot about stable systems and programmed a lot. And eventually I ended up working with RabbitMQ. And in the last 3 years, I've been teaching and designing architectures around Rabbit for our customers and building solutions.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Gabor. We have Ayanda here. Ayanda, tell us a little bit about, you've been involved with Rabbit for quite some time. You were in one of the first RabbitMQ summits. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Yep. Okay, so Rabbit, I think it was when I was still working in South Africa. I just picked up a book on RabbitMQ by Alvaro, and I was totally clueless on what that was. So we're working on telecommunication equipment for 3G and 4G networks, right? And picked up a Rabbit book. We had a custom message queuing system, and no one knew anything about Rabbit. And I think I installed 2.8, Rabbit 2 point something, right? And I just kept it running and totally forgot about it. And yeah, and then years later, I joined ESL. And John, I mean, you should know this. You're the one who placed me in the RabbitMQ project. And that was it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So thank you everyone for attending this meetup group. We have obviously the RabbitMQ Summit next week, 13th, 14th of July. We've got a special code available for those attending today that I'd like to share with you guys. The code, if you go straight to the Summit website, if you use the promo code MeetupFriends20, you'll get a discount, so do take advantage of that. There's some really good talks. You'll have a look at, if you have a look at the website, you can have you can look at some past videos of talks that have happened at previous RabbitMQ summits and such like. So do check that out.